So now you should be able to choose your vendor. How do you get started with them? Cost is a big thing. Generally, a company will tell you the cost fairly early on. I've deliberately put this right at the end because cost shouldn't be one of the most important factors, but for like 99% of clients it is. And so I didn't really want to touch on it too much at the earlier stages. I really wanted to get everyone just to think or focus on the actual process of choosing the right vendor who has the right capability for your work. But when it comes to cost, think about the bigger picture. Cost saving is important. I appreciate that. That's why a lot of people are outsourcing in the first place. But if you can save 30, 40,000 pounds in a year, do you really want to risk jeopardizing that saving over potentially saving 2,000 pounds by going with another vendor who's not as capable? Do you really want to take that risk? Think about the bigger picture. There's a lot to gain if you do it the right way. So if there's two companies and one company's charging an extra 2,000 pounds a year, but with the former, you feel a lot more confident in their ability and you feel you have a good relationship and rapport with them, well, then go with them, because by default, when you outsource, you're saving a lot of money anyway. And by overly emphasizing or overly thinking about cost, what you're going to do is risk jeopardizing that bigger picture, that 30,000 pound windfall. How much should you pay when you outsource? Focus only on the quotes the reputed firms are giving you. So there's this psychological principle called the anchoring effect. And basically what the anchoring effect says is that if I was to give you a very low number and then ask you what is the cost of I don't know, let's say for instance, a book, you're more likely to downvalue the cost of that book if I give you a low number. If I give you a high number, you're more likely to value that book as high. And they've done numerous tests. A lot of psychologists have done numerous tests on this experiment. But basically, the anchoring effect comes into play in a very big way when it comes to outsourcing, because what you have happening is you have a lot of rogue entities that will quote very, very cheap costs. And then when you go to a reputed firm, you will automatically think that the reputed firm is being unreasonable because of the anchoring effect, because you've seen a ridiculously cheap quote. When you see a normal quote, it will seem unreasonable to you. So if you want to get an estimation for what is the amount you should be paying, then you need to look at the reputed firms and only compare amongst the reputed firms. That will give you a very good indication of what the market rate is. What rogue entities are putting out there is going to be completely off the mark. And again, we have a lot of clients coming to us and they're constantly saying, well, this company is quoting, I don't know, 40% cheaper than you. And then we look at their website and we say, well, that company is not really even a company. They're just, 2-3 people working from home. So it's completely irrelevant, really. So don't be caught by that because it will kind of trick you into going with a company who's offering cheaper services, and then you're just going to risk the huge windfall you could achieve. Contractual terms, generally speaking in business, we always want to stack the contractual terms in our favor. And that's how you normally enter into a negotiation, right? You always want the terms to be as much in your interest or as much in your favor as possible. But when it comes to outsourcing, stringent terms aren't always necessarily a bad thing. And that's because what it's indicating is that the vendor actually is prepared to lose business. And when it comes to outsourcing, any company that's prepared to lose business, that's indicating a successful firm. And you want to partner with successful firms when you outsource. The other very important thing is, if an outsourcing company cannot protect its interests, then how do you expect them to protect your interests? They won't be able to do it. So if you can see a vendor has stringent terms and they're really sticking to their guns and safeguarding their interests, it's a good indicator that they're going to do the same thing for you as well. The other thing to keep in mind when getting started is that there can be a teething period. Give it some time. You are working with people who are thousands of miles away from you. Even when you're working with people locally, there can be a teething period. So when it's another country, another time zone, just give it a little bit of time and eventually you should get there. The other thing to keep in mind is start off incrementally. Again, a lot of people go head on. They're very attracted by the price, and they might go and build a team of 10 people, 5 people. I've seen a lot of people do that. And if you really know what you're doing and if you have an experience with a vendor already, that's fine. But if you're a novice to outsourcing, if it's the first time you're doing, start off incrementally. So start off by just giving a very small project or a very small assignment and just build up from there. Get a feel for the results. And if the results are favorable, then just scale up, slowly scale up. It's not always possible to do that. I appreciate that. But where it is possible, I certainly would recommend that. And then finally, treat your vendor as a partner, not as a third-party entity. That is very important because, again, as I mentioned earlier as well, if there are hiccups down the road, you want that mutual understanding and mutual trust so that you can overcome them together. But if you're treating them as this third-party entity that you're not really interested in engaging with, then you're not going to have that rapport to work together to overcome any problems that might appear later down the line. So after that, you should pretty much be good to go. You should be able to apply this methodology and be able to choose the correct vendor.